Hey guys, it's Nina. Today I have a tutorial for you on how to paint marble nails. We're going to be using white polish, white and black acrylic paint, and even a wrap artist nails decal. So let's get started. You want to start by blocking off a certain portion of the nail with Scotch tape and then painting the remainder of your nail with your favorite white opaque polish. Mine is Floss Gloss's Mrs. Tony Montana. And then you want to make sure to take the tape off before the polish dries. That way you have a nice clean, crisp line. Whenever I work with acrylic paint for nail art, I always like to water it down beforehand, and so that's what you'll see that I'm working with here. So I'm using white acrylic paint and mixing in just a dot of black acrylic paint. The goal here is to end up with a really faint gray. It should just be a shade darker than your white base. So I'm sure you're thinking, Nina, I can't see what you're doing here. But when you're doing it on your own, I'm sure you'll be able to see the difference. And it's really important to start with a lighter shade of gray so that we're not boxed in by the mapping that we do here. So the next step is, once you've got your base down, you want to go back to your palette and mix in a little bit more of the black so that you end up with a darker shade of gray. So you want to use the last section of really light gray as a guide to really inform where you're going to be using the darker gray to shade the marble design. So you want to go through and fill in the spaces, just add in a little bit more depth and a little more interest in wherever you think needs it. Next, you want to go through with your striping brush and your black acrylic paint and just add even more shading to the darker gray lines. It's really important to use a light hand here. I kind of think that my lines are a little bit too thick and a little bit too dark. So I'm going to go through with the lighter shades of gray that I've already mixed and thin out my lines a little bit and add even more shading and depth to places where I think it needs it. One quick tip that I always like to do is that when I'm doing negative space designs, I like to add a border. I tend to think that it adds a little bit more of a clean look to it, so that's where I'm going. I'm also adding in a little bit more darker spots to add a little more of a realistic look. So if you've been following me on Instagram, you've probably noticed that I'm a really huge fan of the marble nails. Today we're going to be using the Wrap Artist Nail Decals from the Hands Down collection, and specifically we're going to be using the unicorns. So let's get started. You want to start by selecting the decal that you want to use and cut pretty closely around it. I have a little glass of water here. You peel off the plastic backing and then you let it soak for about 30 seconds. Once you've done that, you can actually peel off the decal and then it's ready to go straight onto your nail. At this point, you can put a little top coat down on the nail before you place the decal, but I always like to put the decal down on a dry base so I have a little more freedom with the placement. So a little side note, as a new YouTuber, I'm always looking for new music, and one of my students actually created the song, so make sure you check out his work. It's pretty good. If you guys like this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe and comment to let me know what you'd like to see next.